Second thing is to really be listening to your audience as much as you can. Have conversations with them, get them hitting replies, get them leaving comments, get them in your DMs. The more you can understand, even if your audience is tiny, the more you can understand who those people are and what they're struggling with and what their goals are, the better you can match your offers to what they need. And this can be really hard because we can be introverted, we can be hiding behind our computer screens, we can be scared to have a conversation. But I promise you that the more conversations you have, the more clarity you're going to have as a business owner.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Empire Secrets. I am chatting today with Gemma Bonham-Carter, who is, to me, one of the first names that I kind of hung on to or got to know online as I was diving into digital marketing. So she's kind of been a name of like, one day I'm going to meet this gal, one day I'm going to chat with her. She's uber successful. She's been around for quite a while. And I was just chatting with her before we hit record because she gave me a wonderful intro for this podcast episode. But I'm like, you gave me such an awesome, different way of introducing yourself in a Black Friday email that landed in my inbox. So I'm gonna take that intro instead, and we'll just fill in a couple blanks. In Gemma's words, I've been creating content online since 2010. In parentheses, OG blogger. Oh yes. I've been developing and selling online courses since 2016. I've monetized businesses in every way you can imagine, including courses, digital products, one-on-one services, one-on-one coaching, brand deals, ads, affiliate marketing, e-commerce, etc. So obviously she's been everywhere. And I actually didn't know about the e-commerce, so I might ask about that. She has helped over 15,000 students inside her paid program since 2019 and done over 3 million in sales. She's taught to students from all over the world. She's been featured in a bunch of different publications around the world. And fun fact, we know a lot of the same people. And it's so fun to jump into our chat today. Gemma, welcome to the show. Did I miss anything?
That was a great intro. That was like the most braggy intro. It's so nice to like have someone else read those things. So yeah, thanks for reading that out. And I'm so excited to be here.
Impressive. So impressive. Gemma, not only have you really established yourself in the online course space, when we think of online courses, there are a few people that come to my mind that are sort of across the board experts at creating an online course, and you're one of them. But I love that you've gotten into AI, so I definitely want to talk about that also. Yes, we're going to talk about online courses and especially where digital marketing is going in 2025. I love that you mentioned as this is one of the topics that we need to talk about. So we want to talk about how to use AI in your business. And I also am curious, with Empire Secrets, I always like to try to go behind the scenes on people's businesses, like how you've structured your business, where are you going, what's working for you, what's not. So I kind of want to understand how AI plays a role in your business or how you're sort of dividing the attention between your offers, between your traditional, course building offers and digital marketing offers with AI. And what those are.
I'm here for
So
it.
let's dive right in.
Yeah, it was a long evolution. I started my blog in 2010. Pre-kids, I was working a 9-to-5 in public health, had a very different sort of career trajectory, a very kind of like serious academic type job. And decided I found blogs. I found people sharing like their home renovation projects. I thought, oh my gosh, that's so fun. It's like an online diary. I'm going to do that about our house that we've just purchased. So, with no intention of monetizing it, no intention of this being a business, just a fun creative outlet. And one thing led to another. A few years later, the blog had really grown. I had like pretty significant readership. And the light bulb started to go off of like, oh, maybe this could be something. This could be a little side hustle. I could turn this into something. So I started to do brand deals. Like one of my very first things was working with, I think it was Home Depot. I was monetizing with ads and affiliate income. The e-commerce came into play around that time because I started an e-commerce shop to actually sell goods that I was making. And so it was around 2015 where I was speaking at a conference about business of blogging. And at that point, I'd grown it to a pretty significant side hustle and still in my 9-to-5 job though. And I was blown away at not only the sort of response that I got from the audience after giving a talk, like of how much they loved it. And I even got cards in the mail afterwards. But it was the enjoyment and fulfillment that I got of being on stage and talking about the strategy of blogging. So at that point, I'd also had one kid. had another in 2016. So I was like deep in my babies at home kind of era, and decided that I would try and launch a course about the business of blogging. And that ended up coming out in 2016. Literally, my son was born that year. So this was done very much in the nap times, in the
Wow.
tiny windows of time with a baby at home. And so I launched that course and it did pretty well. Like I made a couple $1,000s, which I was like, I've hit the jackpot. You know, I thought this was like the most incredible thing. And because it just felt like fun for me. And so then the next year in 2017, I really took the course thing seriously. I launched another one. It was more on the e-commerce side. It was like how to launch a shop as a blogger. That one was the one where, you know, I kind of learned my lessons with the first time around, all the things that like made it not so successful. So I brought my lessons learned to that second course, doubled down, really started to understand digital marketing, funnels, all the things, and turned that into a 6-figure revenue stream that year in 2017. So I kept teaching about e-commerce and blogging until 2019. And it was at that point that I did kind of the full shift and pivot into teaching about the online course model, how to, you know, how to make more sales of your courses, how to do funnels and email marketing better. And it was in those years as well that I quit my 9-to-5 job. I didn't go back to work after having had my son. So it became my full-time business at that time. And I mean, here we are today, you know, shifts and evolutions in this space. But yeah, it's been a journey, but a fun one.
Wow. Okay. I wasn't going to do this, but as you were talking, I couldn't help but realize that there are not that many people who have been doing this for this long, right? I feel like most of the people that I meet are more newbies, right? Take me back to what it was like to create a course in 2016, super quick. How many people were talking about this?
Canva wasn't even a thing. I was designing slides using PowerPoint. The world was different. Let me tell you, webinars were clunky. Like the software wasn't great. I will tell you one really amazing thing is that the course software that I actually still use to this day, it's called Teachery. And I still use it to this day. I bought it in right around 2017. I've like played with Teachable for a bit, but it was a different time. But it's easier today. It's faster today. You can get your ideas out there more quickly. They look better. It looks more professional. However, there's something to be said about me having gone through it during that time of like, there were some hard skills I learned during that time. You know?
My gosh.
And I feel like it has allowed me to weather the ups and downs of an industry better. You know? And the other thing is when you were talking about, a lot of the people, you know, have come into business since the pandemic. I think one thing that's really interesting is when you were someone in this space in 2017 to 2020, you understood what kind of the normal sales cycle looked like. And everything changed in 2020 when so many people came online and were interested, especially in the B2B like marketing space, were interested in building online businesses. My business had a huge leap during that time for sure. But we're now coming back to normal. There's now an equal, we're kind of rebalancing now. And people have been talking about launches being hard. Launches aren't hard. It's just we went through a season where honestly, they were kind of like really easy. And it's just like we're coming back to the
what is that like? I'm just kidding.
You know, but it's true. Like it was kind of easier to like get attention, make sales during that 2020 to 2022 time. And if you didn't have your kind of like marketing chops and good foundational skills in place, you might have still been able to have real success during that time. But now you're kind of finding out like, oh, hang on a second. I maybe need to reestablish the foundations that I've built my house on.
Oh, so interesting. Before we go into what's shifting or what's been shifting, I actually wanted to ask you a question that also just came to mind, which is in that sort of early era, if you will, let's say anything pre-2020, which is not that long ago, clearly, but you know, you were already in business and doing well at that time. What is something that didn't exist back then that exists now, but you're actually happy it didn't exist back then?
To be totally honest, like Reels.
Oh, really?
Didn't exist back then. Instagram was a much smaller, like not such a big deal platform. And so at that time, I was entrenched in more basic ways of growing my audience, which was with long form content. Like I was doing blog posts, I would have good SEO and Pinterest traffic to those blog posts. I was doing lead magnet swaps with people. It was kind of a different time for like list building with some of those foundational things. And I feel like these days we end up, whether we mean to or not, spending too much time getting sucked into social media, doing stories, trying to be on reels. And that just wasn't the same time suck back in 2018 as it is now. You know, there's so many more features. There are more platforms to be on, and it just takes up more time. It was simpler back then.
I love that. But the thing that would come to my mind as an answer to that question, I was wondering if you were maybe going to go there, was this idea that in my mind, there were a lot less voices talking about the speed to the millions, right? Like, make 100K in your first 30 days of business, or whatever other, tagline, or like I did that. Obviously never revealing how much was spent on ads, never revealing what kind of background they had. It's just like this really catchy numbers based figures that some people throw out there. Did that exist back then, or is that more of a more recent thing?
No, it existed back then. It's interesting. It was just like, honestly, at the time, it was more kind of like bros, like bro marketers who were big in terms of that marketing in that way. So no, I was seeing it all the time back then, even still. I think, I mean, it just exists today, sometimes with a different cover, but people have always been able to market their businesses with money claims. And I think that's even been happening in the early days of like direct response marketing, and when they used to sell courses on like CDs and stuff.
Yeah. If anything, I feel like in this shift that's happening right now in the landscape, there's perhaps a little bit more savviness around that, where like if you're not a total newbie in the space, you've heard that enough, or maybe you understand that actually that's not realistic. Anyway, at least without knowing the context, I'm not saying it's impossible, but I am saying that it can be a very toxic way to set yourself up for really big frustrations.
Absolutely.
And not understanding how long it can take to build a business with foundations, with, there's so much to learn if you haven't done this before. Let's fast forward. Let's come back to the present day. Let's talk about, so many people are talking about launches being harder, people taking longer to trust. I don't want to use my words. I actually really want to hear from you what you're perceiving in terms of changes in the online landscape.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to be a good marketer if you want to sell your programs and services and offers. And that means understanding who your target audience is and communicating your offers to them really effectively. And if you if you were able to do that and it was easier in those previous years that we were talking about where there was a bit of a boom, like maybe you have to go back to your drawing board a little bit and make sure that you understand some of those like foundational marketing things. And if you're not, then, or if you, if there are some gaps in your expertise, then you might be noticing that now when it comes to your launches or the success of those launches. And I think also like there has been an evolution in the online course space and in the digital marketing space. But typically when I'm talking about this with people, it's often people who are in the B2B marketing world. If you're teaching people, I don't know, about parenting or nutrition or some other niche, the evolution, although maybe there are maybe it's more competition in those marketplaces today than there were, say, 5 years ago. The evolution isn't maybe quite as dramatic as it has been for people in this particular kind of B2B space. So I think it's also important to understand when we're talking about online courses, are we talking about B2B courses, or are we talking about, completely different like B2C type programs?
Right. So, niche courses that are outside the online space. Yeah.
So I think that's like an important distinction that often gets missed in this conversation. In terms of what I see changing and evolving and coming in 2025, and this is for everybody, whether you're B2B, B2C, whatever it looks like, I think one of the things that, let's talk about it's really important is AI. And so what I've noticed and what I've seen in the evolution of online courses as a medium is that, sure, in the beginning, we have videos, right? Like an online course was about video content where you were teaching people something. You were teaching them whatever it was around your topic. Then we evolved into, okay, we're teaching you and we're going to provide video, but we're also going to give you templates or smart spreadsheets or swipe files or fillable things or the tools that are going to help you implement what we're teaching you in these videos more quickly and easily. And that, 4 or 5 years of like really leaning into there being more and more of that in this space and more tools to help us create those things. And now we're really moving into an AI world where, okay, if we have all those things, how can we then take it up another notch of building in AI powered tools into our programs so that those templates or spreadsheets or swipes or whatever it was that we were giving our people as homework is actually, they can actually accomplish it so much faster now with AI in hand, right? And so it's sort of going from like fully taught into the done with you kind of time. And now we really want to make it more done for you. And the more you can think about that in terms of your offer and your marketplace and the needs of your target, like ideal customer, the better, right? And put yourselves into their shoes and think, okay, what are the tools that I could give them to make accomplishing this so much faster, to get them to that place of results so much faster, and start to explore what that could look like in terms of actually integrating tools into your programs.
I want to talk about this so much. I 100% agree with you. I have started incorporating custom GPTs into my own program, and it's just a total game changer. In fact, we recently had Wendy Breakstone on the show talking all about like how to think about what kind of custom GPTs to create for your business, how they can accelerate your process. So you guys are very much aligned, and I want to hear your take on that too. Okay, so let's just be specific, B2B online space where not only is there more saturation, but the way that I see it is that layer to the buying process of folks who have gotten burned over time, right? Who have invested in coaches who made big promises. The delivery wasn't at all what was expected. And now they're more hesitant to spend the money. They're more hesitant to trust other people. And in fact, like I had a really big burn story that I shared on Instagram. It went mini viral because my following is not that big, but it really resonated with a lot of folks. And at the end of that story, I say how I'm grateful to have gone through it, because now I really understand what it means to not trust someone. And my purchasing decisions were so different after that, the kinds of questions I asked. And so I would love for you to talk about that, whether you've experienced or you're seeing that as well, and what other kinds of deterrents or things that are slowing people down in specifically the B2B space within the digital marketing online.
Yeah. I don't know that I have my own like burn story to share. To be quite frank, I haven't worked with a lot of coaches. I've tended to, maybe it's like a money scarcity story that I have going on in my brain, but I'm very slow to invest in programs or offers or digital products of any kind. And it just and I guess part of that has meant that the way that I have done marketing in my business, I often think about the buyer like me, who needs a long period of time for building trust and feeling like, oh, okay, they do know what they're talking about. So as a marketer in that case, things that are important to me have been long-term email marketing. An evergreen funnel that tries to sell my program to a new lead, and then I never email them again. No, right. I'm in your inbox 1 to 2 times a week, sometimes more if there's something going on. And we are telling stories, giving great strategy, doing, building trust deeply in the email inbox on a regular basis. And if you stick around with me for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and you're opening those emails, my guess is those people, they know that I am the real deal because they've seen me consistently showing up. And if they don't vibe with me, they can peace out and unsubscribe, right? So I think that is really important to build trust with your potential buyer. I also think just being really transparent with the testimonials and case studies that you share. I think those things are really important to be very clear about the promises and the results that you're making in your offers. Like, I think the more blunt and transparent you can be in your marketing, whether that looks like email, social media, on your sales pages, whatever, the more trust you instantly build with your people. And I guess I'm just never after the like immediate sale, because I know that the people who I just give more time to purchase are the people who end up being the right people for me. And they keep investing over and over and over. I have people in my program, Passive Project, they have been there for 5 years because they just love the program and they stay on that alumni plan, like they love what we do inside of that program. So I think just leading with that is really important.
I love that, because you basically described antithesis of the get rich quick idea of like sell them fast. I love that you said, I expect people to take time to get to know me, to make sure I'm the real deal. And I'm actually really curious, Gemma. I'm not sure how much you know about what I do. And usually I give people at least a little intro beforehand. But when I work with my clients on their brand video, or when I teach how to create a brand video, the whole purpose of the brand video is to accelerate trust. You have so many other places online where you can show them your expertise. You can give them the braggadocious list for a minute in your emails. The thing that makes me the most proud are my testimonials, which I thought was really great, because like, here's the human touch, here's the proof in the pudding of how much people loved working with you and got results. But the brand video essentially fills in that gap of getting to know who Gemma is as a person, right? Who are you as a person, aside from these accolades, aside from the expertise, aside from being the real deal? But I still want to get to know who you are, to make sure that I actually want to work with you, that expert.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point. I think for me, it's just, I try to embed that into everything. Like even things as simple as the B-roll in my reels tends to be like me traveling, because I want people at like a subconscious level, maybe with my Instagram content, I want them understanding, oh yeah, Gemma's the person who, like, she lived abroad for a year. She loves to travel with her family. Right. She's really about creating flexibility in her business. Those are like some of the messages that I'm trying to like get through.
For sure. Yeah, I call those like micro signals, where people are using those to paint a picture of who you are. So yeah, the purpose of the brand video is to like accelerate that entire part of the process. But I love that this kind of resonated with you. And I'm always just genuinely curious to hear people's take on this, because the way that you just described establishing trust to me is the best way, or it's kind of the traditional way that I believe in. I don't believe in, exorbitant amounts of scarcity and urgency and pushiness, obviously. So the way that you're doing it, this is the way that I love to do it. But I feel like with the brand video, you can accelerate parts of that process that are kind of in the background of that messaging, right?
Love that.
Anyway, so just wanted to get your feedback on that and jump into, okay, so we talked about that. I want to jump into AI, because you've mentioned it. Obviously it's part of your business. Before we do though, I usually ask people on the show to kind of break down for me really quickly kind of what your offers are. And just as we spoke about before we started recording, I want to understand how like AI fits into your sort of more traditional offers that you've been focused on for the last couple of years. So give me that breakdown.
Sure. So when people are brand new to course creation and they want to launch their first program, we do have an offer for that called Course Creator School. So that is your step-by-step guide to creating and launching your first course. Excuse me. And then the next program, which I kind of mentioned briefly, is Passive Project. And so that's like established course creators. They come into that program, and it's really you can kind of think of it as the all access pass to like all of my curriculum for the established course creator. So we're talking there about evergreen funnels, taking your live launches to the next level. We're talking about audience building, and it's a much more sort of like community-based coaching opportunity type program.
Yeah.
Like, it's the highest touch offer with me outside of like one-to-one kind of work. And just
so I understand, is that like a 6-month commitment, a year commitment? How are you structuring that?
We ask people to join for a year, and oh my gosh, I'm not going to get into everything that you get when you join for a year. The list is long. It's on the sales page. But then what happens after the years, if people want to stick around, we offer a really sort of easy yes alumni rate that's on a month-to-month basis. So it's like, if you want to stick around, you can stick around and you can cancel anytime. And what we've seen is like, yeah, we have a huge percentage of people who stick around, especially if you've really used the curriculum and the community and the coaching over that year. It's kind of becomes like your little back pocket go-to thing. You don't want to leave, right? So those are my two main offers. And then I have other small things, seasonal things that pop up. Things like Black Friday in a Box is one of our best sellers that we do every fall. I have Brand Book in a Day. I have the Email Fix, like small low ticket things for very niched problems that people are facing in their business. where does AI fit into all of this? This is a really good question. So 2 years ago, I had already been sort of playing a lot with AI in my business. And I saw this gap in the market of like, nobody's talking about how to use AI for course creators. There was a lot of people at the time talking about e-commerce, talking about traditional business, but there was a gap. So I created a summit called AI Unlocked and invited course creators to come and share the ways that they were using AI. And I shared some of my ways. So we did year one, huge success, like 5,000 registrants, just like a giant event, such good feedback.
Remind me what year that was.
2023.
Yeah. Okay. So
year two was this year.
You've done it twice. So I've been in both for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, did I miss one?
No,
but no.
2024.
They are fantastic. Let me just reinforce that. It's a phenomenal amount of value.
Yeah.
And it's very cutting edge. I have met such great people through your summit. So I'm just like throwing a bunch of confetti at you right now.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And, you know, I've received some super kind compliments about it. And so it's really like encouraged me to keep going. So I did it again this year. Again, a new roster of speakers. Obviously, things in AI change so quickly that we can do this every year. And it's like all new stuff, right? So did it again in 2024. Again, huge success. And after that summit, kind of realized like, wow, Gemma, I've been using AI in a lot of ways in my business that I haven't really been talking about. And one of the ways this year in 2024 in particular was, you mentioned building custom GPTs. Well, I've been doing the same kind of thing of building like AI assistants basically to do a lot of the repetitive tasks in my business, a lot of copywriting, tasks and other things that we do in my business. And I'm a big believer in like, we have a small team, a small part-time team. I have no full-time employees. We keep it really lean over here. And honestly, your original question about like, how does AI fit in with my offers? At first I was like, it doesn't really. So I was kind of nervous to be teaching about this, but then I thought back to my roots. And the reason why I called the passive project wasn't necessarily just about passive income as a buzzword. It was like, how can we be building a business in the most automated way? Not to take away one-on-one connection with humans and your customers, but to create I'm a big believer in automations and systems and lean team and all of and just keeping it simple. And so when I reflected on that, I was like, well, AI fits perfectly under that umbrella because that is exactly what I'm using it. Like what I used funnels to do back in the day of like selling my offers, which I still use today. It's just kind of like a new version of that, but it's helping me run my business in a really incredible way. So I've decided I'm actually like beta launching it next week during my Black Friday deal week, but it will become kind of a main offer, core offer for me in 2025. Is something called your AI Dream Team, which basically I'll be handing over the blueprints of all of these internal business operation custom assistants that I've built where anybody can look up how to build out a custom GPT. It's not hard. What takes time is building the really in-depth instructions and knowledge files that those GPTs or AI assistants or projects, whatever you want to call them, because every tool calls them a different thing. But those are the things that take a lot of time. And for me, for the tasks that I've given to AI, it takes a lot of marketing knowledge to know how to train those assistants well. And I think I tried lots of tech and trying different tools that were promising to do these things for you, but they're built in a generic way. And so the difference is when you can get the high level instructions and knowledge files, but then be able to insert your specific brand needs, then you can get the perfect result every single time, especially when it comes to copywriting. And so they've been transformational. And I was like, I can't not teach this. Like, this is just way too exciting. So,
oh my gosh. Here we are. So I mean, talk about dangling a carrot. We are recording this like right before Black Friday week. So I'm super excited to check out what you're going to share and what you're going to, offer folks. Can you list some of these assistants that you've created?
Yeah.
Like
at a baseline, obviously, when we're talking about copywriting, you can think about copywriting for social captions, for like if you make carousels for the overlay text of that, you can think about all of your newsletters, like your emails, launch sequences, sales pages, landing pages. Like I have assistants built out for all of those things. The other important thing to recognize is like you want to build assistants that are specific, because if you try and build them to be too big, they get confused. So we have a
Totally.
nice little dream team of all
Little
these
army
things.
of minions.
Exactly. One
Super
of my
minions.
favorite ones is actually my podcast production little robot, where I can just take a transcript of the podcast, whether it's a solo episode or one with an interview guest. I don't have to prompt it or anything because I've given it such clear instructions. I literally just copy paste in the transcript and hit enter, and it produces 10 titles for me based on my kind of titles. Like, not like I use other tools and I'm like, ugh, these suck. Like, I hate them.
Right.
So my kind of titles, it gives me my show notes. It gives me the email to promote the episode. It gives me some like key quotes to pull out. The amazing thing that I love in the show notes, when I have an interview guest on, it already knows how to like go on the internet and find that person's website. Like, I don't even need to put in any of the links. It automatically does all of that. And
I love it.
So it has literally changed the way, the ease that we now experience with publishing podcasts is incredible. And actually, I ended up, before I thought about creating the AI Dream Team, I had someone in my community who had heard me talk about this podcast one that I'd built. And she was like, Gemma, can I pay you to build a custom one for me? So I was like, oh, this is a great test. And of course, it was like mimicked off of mine, but it had her elements in there. Yeah. And when I sent it to her, and the co-host tested it and was like, what is this magic? This is like going to change our life. Like, could not believe how amazing this thing was. So that was also the moment where I was like, hey, I need to be teaching this.
I'm onto something. Yeah. Why keep it to yourself for sure? I have so many questions. Oh my gosh. We don't even have time. One of the questions really quickly is just understanding, are you going to be able to, are folks going to be able to then make those custom adjustments to their own style? Okay. So that's all included.
Yeah. I'm going to try and make it really clear where it's like, here's everything that you can leave as is if you just want to use mine. Here, and then I'm going to highlight in yellow, like, here are the places where if you want to make these adjustments before you put it into the AI assistant to match with your brand or change out some of my examples for your examples, here's where to do that. And then putting them into ChatGPT or Claude or whichever AI tool you prefer is like a matter of a few clicks.
Right. It's all done for you. So cool. I'm curious whether you have not considered essentially like creating a house for these GPTs and then charging monthly for it versus giving them away.
No, very much so. At first, that was the plan. So like at first, my husband and I, we have actually been developing a piece of software for course creators. And that's where these were all going to live, which is why I haven't jumped into teaching this sooner. However, we have some ideas of like maybe that being a little bit more niched, a little bit more specific. And this AI Dream Team is a little bit wider reaching in terms of like all of the tasks. And even we're going to be teaching even some like workflow things of how to automate some stuff as well. So it's a little bit more all encompassing for internal business operations. And the software may come out in 2025 as like a separate thing.
Oh my goodness. I feel like we need a part 2. Such an interesting evolution from like blogger to educator to now creating AI tools to SaaS owner. Love seeing that, Gemma. So much to learn there. Where would you like to send folks to connect with you, Gemma? And leave us with like 3 tips that we could take away in our online business.
Okay, where to find me? If you're a podcast listener, go on over and search The Course Creator Show after you've wrapped up listening to this one and hit the subscribe button. So Instagram is probably my biggest social media platform. If you want to find me, I'm over there at Gemma.Bonham-Carter. And the best thing to do is to be on my email list. So what I'll make sure is I send you a link afterwards if people are interested. My kind of hottest lead magnet is this one called the 100K launch swipes. So it's like launch emails from a 6-figure launch that I did in my business. So happy to drop that link in the show notes so that anybody who's listening who wants a peek at that can grab it. And that also just puts you on my email list. So that's where to find me and connect. And I'd love to hear from anyone who's listening to the show. 3 tips, I think, number 1 is to build a business that aligns with your desired lifestyle and strengths. So even though you may watch other people running really successful businesses, do that gut check of, wait, hang on, that person is maybe running a really successful one-to-one coaching business, but doing one-to-one coaching doesn't actually align with having tons of white space in my calendar. And so it's not really going to align with the kind of day-to-day that I want to have as a business owner. And there's nothing wrong with building any kind of business, right? Whatever that looks like. It just has to be the right one for you. So that gut check, I think, is really important, because I think sometimes we can get derailed and go way down a path that we then realize, hang on a second, that was never the path I was meant to take. Second thing is to really be listening to your audience as much as you can. Have conversations with them, get them hitting replies, get them leaving comments, get them in your DMs. The more you can understand, even if your audience is tiny, the more you can understand who those people are and what they're struggling with and what their goals are, the better you can match your offers to what they need. And this can be really hard because we can be introverted, we can be hiding behind our computer screens, we can be scared to have a conversation. But I promise you that the more conversations you have, the more clarity you're going to have as a business owner. And then the third thing, oh, do I have a third thing? I don't know. The third thing is just to have fun with your business and maybe follow the fun. Like, I think also we get really bogged down sometimes in the day-to-day and the to-do list, in the tasks that we think we need to do, and business stops being fun. And when business stops being fun, I think it's felt everywhere in your marketing. And so if you can follow the fun, you will show up in a much better way in your marketing, and in a better way for your business, and a better way for your clients. So there we have it. 3 tips.
Yeah. As if we needed more value from this conversation. Gemma, so cool. I actually remember seeing your ads for that lead magnet that you're sending people to, the freebie, which will be linked in the show notes. I remember, like, these are some of the first ads that actually stuck with me because it's such an awesome ad, or like copy. But it's been so awesome chatting with you. I love sending people your way. I'm going to send people your way in the show notes as well. And we'll leave it at that. We'll maybe pick up a part 2 next year or something. There's going to be so much to cover between now and then.
Amazing. Thanks for having me on the show.
All right. Bye, everyone. See you on the next episode of Empire Secrets.